and constitutes a meeting of the National Assembly for debating purposes only. In addition to the rules of virtual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, will apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly. Members should equally note that anything that is said in the virtual platform is deemed to have been said in the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and are requested to mute their microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. The microphones are very sensitive and will pick up a noise which may disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, bottom of the screens, which has an option that allows a member to put up his or her hand to raise
Unmute the chairperson, table staff, please.
We've lost the chair, honorable members.
Yes, we ask the
members, once again, my apologies for that. My apologies for that. I now want to introduce the budget vote, which is sport and recreation, and I recognize the Honourable Minister for Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and Deputy Minister of Sport and Culture, Honourable Notawe Mafu, ministers and other deputy ministers here present, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honourable Dulane, Honourable members, MECs of Sport, Arts and Culture present, Chairpersons and Chief Executives of public entities, the leadership of the sporting and creative sectors, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. This budget vote debate takes place during Africa Month as declared by Cabinet of the Republic in 2015. It is a month where we highlight and celebrate our Africanness in a true Pan-African spirit. In so doing, we salute our forebears who founded the Organization of African Unity, now African Union or AU, on the 25th of 1963. I want to single out the late former president of Tanzania, Julius Kambarage Mwalimu Nyerere. President Nyerere would have turned 100 years of age this year had he lived. We will continue to honor their legacy by ensuring the total integration of Africa and unity amongst Africans. Since South Africa started celebrating Africa Month 7 years ago, 36 countries across the continent have participated in different programs, and one of the key programs is exchange of ideas, mainly led by our public intellectuals. We refer to this part of our program as the Festival of Ideas. Over this period, we had the honor of having literary giants as ministers' guests of honor. We can mention Ben Okri, Wole Soyinka, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Muriel Fanon Mendes, amongst others. The Africa Month program has now been elevated to a continental level. This was occasioned by the AU 5th Pan-African Cultural Congress in 2018, adopting it as its flagship program. We are grateful and feel honored by this gesture from our continental body, the AU. Chair, I want to touch on matters related to COVID-19 and note the difficult past 2 years, especially for the sector. And also note that the government did respond on this pandemic, and government response was through relief grants and presidential economic stimulus package. And we assert, Chair, that this went a long way in softening the negative impact of COVID-19 in our. This said, we acknowledge that not all benefited from such interventions by government. This is so because of the financial resources at our disposal having been limited. We tried to stretch the rand as far as we possibly could. Over this period, the department has supported athletes, artists, and their organizations financially to the tune of 808 million rands, benefiting 59,224 artists and athletes with 37,556 jobs created and retained. We also make a point, Chair, that we need to continue with the process of vaccination because it is a correct thing to do. We're reporting, Chair, here that not all was doom and gloom during this past 2 years. And one of the highlights lifted our spirit was through our creatives, Master KG and Nomtebo Zigod. They healed the world through their Jerusalem song and dance, uniting us South Africans with the global community. Tusombedu 2021 Hollywood Critics Inaugural Association Awards winner for her performance as Cora in Underground Railroad, and the 2022 Independent Spirit Awards winner for the Best Female Performance in a Scripted Series. Professor Pitika Ntogi 2021 Global Fine Arts People's Choice Award winner. DJ Black Coffee Ugosnati Mapumulo 2022 Grammy Award winner at its 64th annual chapter. Mandla Dube, directed the world-renowned Silverton Siege, a story on the fervent offensive by MKKers fighting for the release of Nelson Mandela. The iconic piece premiered at Sun City and was further shown in 192 countries in April this year. We also, Chair, here assert the Freedom Charter, which stated that the doors of learning and culture shall be opened. It continues to say that the government shall discover, develop, and encourage national talent for the enhancement of the cultural life. Our approach, Chair, on this matter, the Freedom Charters and ensuring that the Freedom Charters injunction is implemented. We do that through Mzansi Golden Economy Strategy, and we mentioned that since 2011, Mzansi Golden Economy has supported more than 30,000 creatives across the spectrum to pursue their crafts. The strategy will continue to be the pillar of our movement forward as we are guided by research. The mapping study, for instance, done by SACO, the South African Cultural Observatory, which foregrounds our approach to the sector. One of the things which noted in 2018 is that this the cultural and creative industries contribution in 2018 was 74.39 billion rands, which accounts for 1.7 billion rand, 1.7% of South Africa's GDP. In 2022, this contribution is 161 billion rands, accounting for 2.97, almost 3% of South Africa's GDP. Now, we mentioned this, Chair, just to make a point that our approach here is really guided by research. We also report on programs specifically aimed for youth. The Debut Fund program, for instance, the Young Patriot programs, the Artists in Schools, the programming in film. Well, the latter, for instance, involves highly creative activities wherein a task is given to you to produce 10 short documentaries of unsung African heroes and heroines. And this, Chair, we are doing to ensure that the content of our film reflects our movement forward as a democracy. We also mentioned, Chair, our work that it starts at the grassroots level with us supporting community art centers, which goes to playhouses and academies. The past 3 years, for instance, we have supported 331 community art centers. And we also continue to undermine the apartheid spatial development by creating spaces in provinces. In 2021, we opened the Mandela Bay Theatre Complex in Gqeberha, which was immediately declared as a cultural institution. Again, in the same year in Northern Cape, we opened officially a theatre, a space for expansion of cultural ecosystem in that particular province. We also, Chair, mentioned here that the National Academy of Africa's Performing Arts initiative is of Mr. Kaifas and Mrs. Leta Semenya and is almost complete with minor touch-ups on construction. It will offer a professional arts training in music, dance, and drama. We also raised the point about the crafts and the work we're doing there, Chair, that we'll be having what we started this year, an exhibition on crafts throughout the country. We also mentioned the programs we are doing, particularly in the incubator space, and the visual art. We report here, Chair, that this month, last month, April, until November, we have what is called the Venice Biennale exhibition. And this is the arts exhibition, which is dubbed as the Olympics of the Arts, founded in 1893. We have our own there, artists Lebohang Hanye, Dr. Balen, and Mr. Nduli, Pumlani Nduli. And all of these, Chair, are part of the process where we take our artists to international platforms to expose them and ensure that they are known internationally. So, Chair, I think we have to mention this, that on languages, for instance, we financially support language practitioners each year, the average of 400 in all major universities in our universities here. We also touch on issues of GBVF. Our approach here, Chair, is a 3-pronged strategy which deals with GBVF and also issues of wellness intervention program. We look at the heritage promotion. For instance, we note that this past period we have seen us having 71 towns, 3 cities, and 6 airports, Chair, which have been transformed as part of the transformation of the heritage landscape. We've finalized the Winnie Mandela House and Museum, or Aratambo. We also, Chair, advanced processes are advanced and underway on the monumental flag in Tshwane. The department is mandated to promote nation building and social cohesion. The department implements this mandate through, amongst others, the design, registration, and promotion of the national symbols. The national flag is one of our primary symbols, and we are saying, Chair, it is important that even at that level, we ensure that we hold the high and host high the flag of South Africa as part of this transformation of the heritage landscape. We've also, Chair, ensured that last year we passed the National Policy on Digitization, and we have current programs, amongst others, the e-book augmentation system, digital dictionaries resources for the new language since 2019, 529 audiovisual records were digitized, which includes the treason trial, dictapads, the TRC, and we also want to share by saying that as the country emerges slowly from the COVID-19 pandemic, so is government moving from grants and relief mode to sustainable economic recovery trajectory. Responding to the guide from research, we will in the main deploy resources accordingly. This will be done primarily through our MGE strategy. Future milestones include work towards the urgent need of strengthening the cultural diplomacy, because we want to ensure that we continue to expose our creatives the world over so that they are able to be known, particularly be able to stand on their own as creatives in South Africa. Chairperson, I present this budget vote here today to you and say that we support this, and we think that it's quite important that we take forward the issue of the reconstruction and recovery of this sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next speaker will be the Honourable Dulane. The next speaker is Honourable Dulane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I may face the problem of network, but I want firstly to show my face to see that I'm not in the bed, I'm in the house. Let me greet the minister, the deputy minister, all the ministers who are here, greeting you, Chairperson, and also all the stakeholders who may be present here. Finally, let me greet the colleagues, all honorable members of Parliament, and especially the one who are serving in this committee. Firstly, let me take this opportunity to say, as the African National Congress, we support this budget vote of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture through Portfolio Committee. Will continue to hold department and its entities accountable. Chairperson, South Africa is a nation which has been divided by colonialism and apartheid. Despite transition to a democratic Republic of South Africa, the legacy of colonialism continues to manifest in our lives today. Racial and class division remains entrenched, and we should all contribute to the building the nation envisioned by Priscilla Seme, Chief Albert Tuli, Nelson Mandela, and compatriots who have lost in the struggle against oppression a vision of a united South Africa. I'm saying this again today. Our Constitution commits all South Africans to address the injustice of the past in the quest to create a non-racial, non-sexist, and equitable society. The National Development Plan 2030 describes arts and culture as having opened the code, the ability to open powerful space for debate about where a society finds itself and where it is going, promoted effectively the creative and cultural industries, and contribute substantially to small business development, job creation, and urban development and renewal, I close quote. As South Africans, we come from diverse backgrounds from a racial and cultural point of view. As a nation, we should always commend a social compacting for national building and social cohesion. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture responds to these imperatives of forging social cohesion and national building. Transformation is also about the creation of national identity and cultural identities. The African soul is embedded in our language. Therefore, speaking our own languages and mainstreaming our African languages in our education system will develop our African languages. Honorable members, Honorable the Chairperson, the department's budget vote responds to promoting the equal status of all official languages through the development of words and language technology, translation and editing services in all languages. This is inclusive of the Khoi, Nam and San languages and sign language, and develop and produce 27 dictionaries through the Pan-South African Sign Language. In order to ensure all official languages are developed, the department should strengthen its relationship with institutions of higher education so that they prioritize the development of all languages for educational purposes. Our university have the resources and human capability to advance this objective. Also, the department in the current financial year will promote 250 bursaries towards the development of qualified language practitioners and human language technologies projects with Council for Science and Industrial Research. We applaud this type of partnership, and we urge the department to have more projects within other science and innovation entities to harness the capability of the state to advance and enhance implementation of developmental objectives. Honorable Chairperson, in building a nation and creating equity in society, it is important that we accelerate our efforts within the existing legislation to ensure that we use symbolism as soft power for forging unity rather than a soft power domination. I'm saying this, Chairperson and the honorable members, we must defend our democracy from remnants of apartheid who wish to celebrate the darkest periods of our history. We must shun acts of embracing the apartheid flags, and we should take pride in our national symbol. The flag of a democratic South Africa is our national symbol, and we take pride on it. Honorable Chairperson, we acknowledge and welcome the plan to host a collective of 472 exhibitions as a means of encouraging educational and public outreach programs and celebrating the diversity of the country's culture and natural heritage. The budget vote allocates 2.8 billion to heritage institutions, and these institutions also raise funds through donation, sponsorship, and entrance fees. Honorable Chairperson, COVID-19 has had a devastating effect in the cultural and creative sector. It is one of the reasons why the Portfolio Committee conducted an urgent oversight to visit the National Arts Council and the National Film and Video Foundation following the issues around mismanagement of the distribution of the Presidential Employment Stimulus Package in April 2021. We are proud to announce that post our visit, department has forged ahead with conducting the forensic investigation into this mismanagement at NAC. And the matter is beginning to bear fruit, whereby the management involved have been charged with misconduct and facing disciplinary action, and all funds have been accounted for to date. Chairperson, the coronavirus pandemic has also affected heritage institutions financially sustainability. We welcome the reprioritization of 21 million to address funding shortfalls of Amazwi South Africa Museum of Literature, the Afrikaanse Taal Museum and Monument, the Luthuli Museum, the KwaZulu-Natal Museum, the War Museum, and Ketera. The Sport, Arts and Culture Portfolio Committee prioritizes a focus on addressing the transformational issues in sport through meeting various national federations. The Transformation Status Report of 2020 highlights that each federation indicates that 9 of the 19 federations achieve 50% or more. This is a great improvement in the overall. The racism reflected in the social justice and nation building project by the independent inquiry into the causes. These causes, nature and extent of racial discrimination and lack of transformation in cricket structures since unification led by advocate Tsebenza lays bare the level of discrimination in sport and cricket in particular. It reflected the economic and social impact of discrimination conduct. We welcome the process being undertaken, implement the recommendation of implement the recommendation report. We urge Cricket South Africa to use this report as catalyst of transformation than an opportunity to hide racism, which continues to divide our nation. We are concerned on the number of cricket club members have decreased by 22% from 2017 to 2019. Allegation of racism in rugby continues to simmer, and we should continue to monitor improvements in rugby and other sporting codes and address emerging challenges. Honorable Minister, Honorable Chairperson, the establishment of a transformation ombudsman office in sport sector can contribute enhancing efforts of transformation as it creates a conducive environment to expose and address discrimination. Transformation in elite sports such as horse racing, golf, and other sporting codes is a crucial area that you must look at the minister. My time is over. Oh, I'm hearing somebody speaking. Who's saying yes?
Continue.
Order, honorable members, order. You are not presiding over this session. Please continue, Honorable Dlulane. I'll indicate when your time is up.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Transformation in elite sports such as the horse racing, golf, and other sporting codes is a critical area in ensuring that South Africans participate in different sports and not be based on class, and this reproduces inequality in sport. Honorable members, we need to ask ourselves critical questions on gender inequality in sports. It is a problem of a combination of political, social, and economic factors which shape the distribution of resources. As the African National Congress, we call for social partners in sports to prioritize resources and provide support to women's sports. Gone are the days where women and the girl child are restricted from participating in different sports in order to advance women's sports to be at the same level with men. The media, donors, sports sponsor, sporting federation, and other stakeholders should increase their support to women's sport. We are ready to host the 2023 Netball World Cup as a nation, and we call on South Africans to support our national netball teams. The African National Congress again is supporting this budget vote, and we must transform all what is not transformed in. And then by this, I thank you, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Mhlongo. Is the Honorable Mhlongo on the platform? If the Honorable Member is not on the platform, then I'll proceed to the Honorable Madlinkosi. Honorable Madlinkosi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, it was on this day in May 1835, during the Sixth War of Dispossession, that the British soldiers shot and killed King Gintsa Zanzolo of the Amaxhosa king. King Gintsa was a great supporter of the great war general of Amaxhosa, Chief Makoma Kangeka Chongumsobomvu. The British not only shot and killed the king on the banks of Ngabaha River, they also beheaded him and took his head as a trophy back to Britain. His head has never been repatriated back to his native land to this day. When we speak of culture and heritage in the context of neo-colonial arrangement, such as the one we have in this country, we speak about this brutal history of land dispossession. We speak about the uprooting of people's humanity. We speak about displacement. We speak about erasure. True national culture can only be claimed back when everything that was lost is returned back to the people. We also acknowledge that today would have been the 92nd birthday of Professor Mazisi Kunene, who was born on the 12th of May, 1930. Professor Kunene is one of many distinguished literary giants produced by our country's long struggle against colonialism and apartheid, and has produced timeless works of literature, chief amongst which was Emperor Shaka the Great, in which he documents the life story of Ilembe, King Shaka of Amazulu nation. Perhaps it is most important to go back to one of Professor Kunene's timeless poems titled Lelo Lihlo Lethu, which goes as follows. Kuzobe kuyilihlo elifunayo, elobe libona ububanzi bethu, bona bungezontaba ezimangelengele, bona bungezompophoma ezidilikazi landelana, bona bungamahlathi ahlobisa ngamahlamvu. Sengishaya phansi ngenduku yami yanganekwane, sekuvela imithombo, kuvela abantu, kuvela bona abalandikazi bezindaba. It is important that we cite this poem today because we are led by a minister and a department that has lost ability to see and acknowledge great strides made by South African artists and cultural icons through history up to this day. Some of our country's brilliant literary icons, such as Professor Mtongela Masilela, died still exiled without any recognition from the country of their birth, despite the invaluable work they have done in documenting the country's literary and cultural evolution. This department has over the years failed to protect the interests of not just literary giants, but artists who have for generations been used and exploited by production companies who continue to benefit from the works of these artists to this day. The belated attempt by the Department of Trade and Industry to tighten legislate for the protection of intellectual property rights for artists is simply not enough to offer full protection to those who have been displaced and exploited for generations. The sad manner in which the department handled the devastation brought to artists by COVID restrictions will remain a very dark blight on the way the department is prepared to take care of the interests of those in the creative industry. Today, many creatives stand to lose their homes because they have been unable to make a living over the past couple of years. The department has not lifted a finger to assist. The less said about the sport, the better. There is no coherent program on the sport development led and coordinated by the department across all sporting codes dominated by African people. Rugby, cricket, and other sporting codes that have been historically dominated by whites are dependent on the deep pockets of white businesses. There is no coordination between the Department of Basic Education to ensure there is an ongoing program of school sports. Football is still led by that corrupt fossil called Danny Jordan, who has not initiated a single development in this country. The EFF rejects this budget because it does not address any of the issues and that are critical to the development of the sports and arts in this country. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is the Honourable Mhlongo now available? I understand some members are having connecting problems. Honorable Mhlongo? If the honourable member is still having difficulties, I'll come back to him later, and I'll recognize from the IFP, the Honourable Lutuli.
Thank you,
The Honourable
Chairperson.
Lutuli.
Thank you, Chairperson. Carefully review of this budget allocation for this department has raised a few concerns when compared to the department's strategic goals. One of these set goals is the seeking new ways of founding strategic cooperation by mobilizing the resources, knowledge, activities, and concern of all role players to increase their cohesion on a partnership basis. Whilst the department provides an overview of the activities, would like to support through art and culture and sport. It does not make use of the historical investment into has made in the paper. Part of this seeking new ways in forming the strategic coalition request that the department be present on the ground and engage with the artist, culture, and promoters and athletics to understand the challenges people face in effectively pursuing their interest and reaching the highest level in their field. For example, in previous fast-tracking programs, in support athletic who had been part of the program but did not see fully success should be consulted to understand the challenges faced so that the department may position its budget more effectively in addressing the difficult for the previous disadvantaged groups. We have also seen that many of rural areas are still without facilities to practice art, culture, and sport. Yet these activities are very important in addressing some of the country's biggest problems, such as the high rate of teenage pregnancy and substance abuse. The department has missed the mark in forming the corporation of the strategic corporations to take these two issues into account, and in not reaching cut for former participants of fast track program, a program designed for further participation for share their skills and talent with all sectors of the department, especially in the rural areas, should have created invaluable partnership whilst bringing skills transfer to the much forgotten rural areas. In closing, Chairperson, I must raise the alarm regarding the lack of transparency without the department sporting codes in rural areas. The department tells us that it gives the provinces money to facilitate their activities such as sport, yet I do not see any activity in our rural areas. if the department allocate money, it must be reported on the special program that is understood to fund. The provincial department must publish weekly notice that details the activities that take place and what is being funded, so that local residents can access this. This is still an acceptable bias in the funding, which is skew
Honourable Member, the time is now expired.
Communities. Thank you. I support.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Thank you. I will now recognize the Honourable Mhlongo.
Chairperson, can you hear me, Chairperson? I'm speaking and I'm audible. I don't know what is happening. Can you hear me, Chair?
Honourable Member, I've just recognized you to speak. May you continue,
Can
please?
I speak? Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairperson. Ngithanda ukubonga umsebenzi wenziwa ubabu Freddy Nyathela. We acknowledge the work that you are doing in Newtown. Siyabonga Babu Nyathela, we South African Roads Association. Your development of young people, it's recognized and acknowledged. Ngale sabelo mali ngeke sifeze amaphupho abantu bethu. With this current budget, the current government cannot realize fight against poverty, especially in the sector. This budget is not worth the paper it's written on. This government is not taking the sector seriously. The NC government does not prioritize our artists. The NC government has failed to support our artists during COVID-19. We note that our people have lost hope in the ANC administration. All artists are lamenting over Minister Natim Tetwa's silence, lack of empathy for the cultural and creative industry of South Africa. It is shocking how the ANC government is playing and accounting for the mismanagement of PESP relief funding. They use pictures rather than bank account. Bathathe ithombe, bathathe nemali bamisa abantu ukuthi basitshengise ukuthi imalini. How can you account? Do you call that proper accounting? The fact is unlawful, corrupt, confidential settlement between the NAC and the former CEO has discarded the PFMA and National Art Council. Theatres cannot survive with the continued threat of closing down due to COVID-19. This 50% capacity must stop. Sport has power to change South Africa, but the minister and his department's action are holding it back. Chairperson, we have a minister that is not developing sport. He has remained silent and quiet regarding the payment of 21 million rand for SAFA. NEC members will be buying votes, they're paying themselves. Why, Minister, you so silent? Each NEC member will be getting a bonus of 520,000 rand. It's uncalled for, Minister Uthulile. We want administrators that will put South Africa first, not self-centered administrators. No, to selfishness and self-interest. SAFA is not respecting our former players. Soccer won't be better in South Africa if our former players are not part of SAFA. I support Dr. Kumalo's view on this issue. SAFA must use this money to develop sports, emakhaya, edujwa, naselusuyisigi. We should ensure that we focus our to make sports events infrastructure safe, accessible, and available to everyone. We note that I have submitted several parliamentary questions to the minister. He is not responsive, always stating that still sourcing the information. We've been waiting for answers regarding the department's legal battle regarding the late Mama Miriam Makeba trustees since November 2021. It is clear that the minister has dropped the ball. Question the minister regarding SIFSA, 5 million which was spent to date since November 2021. We've asked questions. The minister says verifying information. When's Agalan? Are you still verifying information today, or you are hiding information for us? It has been now 6 months since you claim that South African Rugby Union need additional time to answer our question. How much more time do you need, Minister? Chairperson, how can we expect the Minister of the ANC to manage our money? He cannot even manage sports and the sector. Lamasela Lang. The Auditor General has raised concern over weak internal controls, especially in the department and its entity. One of its entity is Boxing South Africa. Due to maladministration, not adhering to supply chain irregularity, the CEO was suspended and they appointed an acting CEO before he resigned also. Wenzagalan, corruption umkhonyovi at its best. This resulted in instability in the leadership of Boxing South Africa. Building stadium. 15 million was used to build an ANC municipality stadium at Eastern Cape. Lendaba inkulu kakhulu. The Enoch Gijima municipality recently unveiled that they built a stadium worth 50 million, but the real cost was 5 million. What is happening to the rest of the money, Minister? The ANC government has nothing to do ukuthi bazosolva umkhonyovu. The ANC administrators did nothing, Dololo. Beside this, they've bring our once beloved South Africa to its knee. The department is not adhering to the Division of Revenue Act. An irregular expenditure of 90 million has been occurred. The AG has raised concern regarding audit report findings. The department is not adhering to the regulation. Where are the details of social justice, nation building commission, Minister? When's the Galan with Cricket South Africa? They've dropped the ball. I think the chairperson of the committee is out of touch with the issues. Those hearings were a flop. Unemployment has risen. The department has nothing to do to address on the issue. They advertise, shortlist, and there's no action. Ngale sabelo mali ngeke zifezeke abantu bethu babone amaphupho abo afezeke. With this current government, with this current budget, we cannot win the fight against poverty. Under the ANC government, there is no prosperity in sports, arts, and culture. Building of sports infrastructure in poor community will not be realized. It's a pipe dream under the ANC government. Apartheid special planning will remain a thing of present after 28 years into our democracy. This leaves us with the following question. What does the ANC did? What did you do, ANC?
Remember, your time is now expired.
That caters for all disabled people.
Honorable
the answer
member,
is
your time is expired.
Nothing. This budget is not worth the
Honorable
Mhlongo,
your time has expired, honorable member.
That you are available for committee meeting. You always absent, giving us reasons that you attend ANC events. The minister must make sure all amateur and schools have
just mute him, Chair. Mute this one, man. He's wasting our time.
Honorable member, your time has expired.
Bring change in 2020.
Remove him from the platform.
Your time is expired.
Out of touch. Question the value for money.
Time expired long time ago already.
No, we have
time flag.
Honorable Mhlongo, your time expired a long time ago and you simply continued. I now recognize the Honorable Denner.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, for the 2022-23 financial year, the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture are focusing on a number of priorities, which include, amongst others, opportunities to drive their ever-present transformation agenda, the identification and development of historically marginalized and under-resourced provinces who do not have theatre facilities, while existing theatre facilities are in a deplorable state and deteriorating more and more by the day. Many examples come to mind, the most glaring of which is probably Packhoffs in the Free State. Supporting the professional sports system by ensuring that talent is encouraged to emerge from all communities in an equitable way, then nurturing and supporting it. Seeking ways to form strategic collaboration by mobilizing resources, hopefully not into the pockets of those who don't deserve it, as we have seen during the entire COVID-19 pandemic, as well as before and after it. And of course, the promotion of national symbols, heritage sites, social cohesion and nation building, where one key project in this program is the construction of the monumental flag. Agbare voorsitter, ek het al vele kere in die verlede verwys na die verkeerde prioriteite van hierdie departement, maar hierdie moet die toppunt van verkeerde prioriteite wees. This monumental flag project, which is set to cost around 22 million rand. In the department's own words, the flag needs to be highly recognized by citizens, as if it's not, and has the potential to unite people as it becomes a symbol of unity and common identity. I fail to see how yet another white elephant project on top of a 100-meter pole that cost the country millions of rands while citizens are jobless, homeless, hungry, and living in abject poverty will stoke the flames of national pride. In this day and age, after just getting through a pandemic that has literally devastated the arts and culture industry in South Africa, I dare say it is a slap in the face of artists and other practitioners in the industry to spend millions of rands on a flag and flagpole in the name of social cohesion and nation building. Dis 'n skande. Julle behoort julle te skaam. Speaking of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the department, long-term plans will be developed to focus on job opportunities and come up with sustainable interventions to prevent the loss of income in this sector. The words sustainable interventions and prevention of loss are often used by the department, but what happens in practice is far from a rosy picture. I also fail to see how long-term plans will be successful if the short-term interventions, such as the 300 million rand emergency fund allocation to the department by the PESP and administered by the National Arts Council, did not find its way to struggling artists, but into the pockets of council members. House Chair, one of the department's priorities, as I've mentioned, is supporting the professional sports system by ensuring that talent is encouraged to emerge from all communities in an equitable way, then nurtured and supported. This priority is largely covered by Program 2, which according to the department should predominantly contribute to a diverse, socially cohesive society with a common national identity. Once again, it looks wonderful on paper, but is the furthest thing from the truth in practice because this department itself, under the leadership of the minister, through its words and actions, promote the exact opposite. Kyk maar na die minister se uitsprake oor sekere burgers se erfenis. Die vlamme van verdeling word aangeblaas deur te insinueer dat die totaliteit van Afrikaner erfenis byvoorbeeld boos is. Voorts word die stok van eie geregtige rasisme oordeel tog te maklik uitgepluk om prominente wit sportlui by te kom, sonder om vooraf deeglike en redelike ondersoek te doen. Die gevolglike reputasie, finansiële en emosionele skade nadat sodanige aantuigings 'n muis gebaar het, soos wat ons nou gesien het, is onmeetbaar. Om nie eers te praat van die skade wat gedoen word aan die departement se eie doelwitte van nasiebou en sosiale kohesie nie. Nee, voorsitter, hierdie departement slaag nie eers in sy primêre doel van nasiebou en vereniging nie. Hy sluit uit, marginaliseer, diskrimineer, verkleineer, verneder, wanbestee en prioritiseer verkeerd en daarom kan geen begroting onder sy toesig slaag nie. Ek dank u.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now recognize the Honourable Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, the Honourable Natim Tetra, all the ministers and deputy ministers that are on the platform, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Ms. Beauty Dlulane, honorable members, MECs that are on the platform, and the Speaker of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature, DG and officials of the department, chairpersons and chief executive officers of our public entities, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. A year ago, when we presented our department's budget vote, our country was battling COVID-19 pandemic with no end in sight. This year, we meet following the devastating floods in KwaZulu-Natal and the incalculable loss of lives and livelihoods. We are well aware that our sporting and recreation facilities were not spared when looking at the overall damage to infrastructure. As a resilient people, however, we are fully committed to mobilizing all our available resources in the quest to rebuilding lives. Our thoughts and prayers are also extended to those parts of the Eastern Cape and the Northwest that faced a similar fate, as well as the victims of the fires in Langa, Cape Town. Chair, during the 2022 State of the Nation address, the President spoke of the need to forge a social compact that would not only set this country on a growth and development path, but would also ensure that South Africa was, over a period, is socially integrated and inclusive, and that all have a fairer chances at life. As the President counselled, this would require a compact among and between key sectors in society, so that the goal of uniting South Africa becomes the responsibility of all. Social cohesion and nation building remains one of the apex priorities of the 6th administration, and in line with the Cabinet's mandate given to this department as a champion of the government's program of action on social cohesion. Part of the exercise in this first quarter of this current financial year will be to complete the mid-term review as per standard guidelines from the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation in terms of management of government's priorities and outcomes. We are happy to report that we are on course to finalizing the social compact for social cohesion and nation building, whose building blocks were provided at the 2020 Social Compact National Convention, with subsequent engagements with other stakeholders still going on. In making social cohesion a societal undertaking, it is important that there is one message, many voices, and multiple platforms. In that regard, we will continue giving support, whether technical or financial, to advocacy platforms for social cohesion as created by social cohesion advocates. Chair, social cohesion advocates are an independent brigade appointed by the minister to foster cohesion at the basic level of the community. These are volunteers who utilize their passion, experience, and expertise to evangelize about social cohesion on behalf of the government. For this financial year, we are committing 15 million in support of no less than 20 advocacy platforms by our social cohesion advocates. Part of the intention, however, in this new financial year is to strengthen the capacity development component in our dialogue so that communities are left with the assistive tools to sustain the dialogues beyond the initial intervention by the department. In this financial year, we will commit about 7.8 million towards the dialogue programs. Chair and honorable members, we would like you to note that as part of the social cohesion program, our department continues to be committed to the National Strategic Plan against gender-based violence and femicide. And we will continue to make a contribution to the NSP through 2 of the 6 pillars identified, namely the prevention and rebuilding social cohesion pillar and response, care, support, and healing pillar. Part of the strategy is not to have standalone interventions on GBV and femicide, but rather to also endeavor to integrate this thematic trust across all programs so as to leverage on available resources for maximum impact. We will continue to focusing on hotspots areas identified by the district development model mechanism, as was the case with our recent activation in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape. which is cited to be one of the major hotspots in the country when it comes to GBVF. Chair, we have been encouraged by the level of scrutiny given to the moral regeneration program. Looking at the number of parliamentary questions in this first half of the year alone, in terms of our obligations to the moral regeneration movement, which is the implementing agent for moral regeneration program, we have committed 4.5 million this current financial year. And this is a commitment in line with the 3-year memorandum of agreement between our department and MRM. The special plea is that other sectors such as the religious fraternity, organized business, and civil society to also join hands with us in supporting this noble project. There are provincial chapters that need support, and this need not be on finances only. When we get to sport, sport can be used as the vehicle to foster cohesion, peaceful coexistence, and mutual solidarity in our communities. And thus we will spare no effort in employing sport in support of these broader national imperatives, ensuring that South Africa progressively becomes a socially integrated and inclusive society. For this to realize, transformation of this sector has to continue to top the agenda of our department. According to the Eminent Persons Group's report, the country is making some strides in transformation of the sector, although there are still some areas of concern. For instance, the ongoing gender inequality in all areas and at all levels of sport are a cause for concern. Softball can be singled out as the #1 transformed code. Of course, rugby is one of the borderline cases, showing some progress but not stable. As far as cricket is concerned, the department has intervened to stabilize governance, and we are happy so far. There is still more work to be done, though. The other codes are work in progress. As the department, we have noted with concern the resistance from some quarters, but we will continue to engage. Our intention this year is to deploy the recently launched program of the sport ambassadors to provide the necessary support to the school sport program. By so doing, we can accelerate the footprint of participation to reach as many schools and learners as possible. We are also committed to working closely with the recently established SASCOX Gender Commission on gender issues and transformation as part of strengthening our transformation efforts. Chair and honorable members, one of the country's most significant accolades was the decision by World Netball to grant South Africa host status for the 2023 World Cup event. This decision was taken against strong opposition from developed countries, some of which have hosted the event before. This honor by World Netball to entrust the hosting of their most precious event to the African continent for the first time in 63 years is one more opportunity for us to unite the country through the medium of sport. On our side, we have committed some 30 million per annum for each of the 3 years leading to 2023. A board to organize the event is already in place. Management staff is being appointed. Broadcasters and sponsors have been secured. A Netball Fridays campaign is in motion. All things that point to a positive state of readiness. An interministerial committee has also been formed to ensure full and comprehensive government support. On Active Nation, a program that comprises school sport and mass participation. On mass participation, the delivery of mass participation program presently rests with the provincial departments through an annual conditional grant from the national department. The department is very thankful to be able to have implemented the following 5 active recreation programs, albeit under strict COVID-19 risk-adjusted strategy. The Move for Health, the Nelson Mandela Sport, Art and Culture Day, National Recreation Day, Big Walk, and National Youth Camps. And the National Youth Camps was held at each of the 9 provinces, with attendances of no less than 200 youth at each site. We are also glad to have successfully held this year's National Indigenous Games Festival at the province of KwaZulu-Natal, the same host province for the South African Sport Awards. The National Department, in conjunction with the provincial departments, were able to utilize the conditional grant to see more than 300,000 people participating in sport and recreation events. On school sport, with regard to school sport, despite the limited success in driving the cooperation envisaged in the Memorandum of Understanding between our department and the Department of Basic Education, we still managed to increase the access to sport on the part of learners through initiatives like the National School Sports Championships. We also are very happy to actually report that the Edendale Technical School girls team, which participated in the African Champions football, came second. This was held at the DRC. But also the team from Iletsa School, from Brits, didn't do so well. But this bodes well in terms of making sure that school sport becomes something that everybody becomes proud of. On achievements, athletes have participated in district championships. We have accommodated the participation of learners in the National School Sport Championships with a total of about 2,714 learners participating at the Bloemfontein, Germiston, and Pretoria legs of competition. We have allocated financial support of approximately 114 million to 61 non-profit institutions. Additionally, the department supported the Boxing South Africa Strategy Workshop, whose aims included the repositioning of the organization to be attractive to new boxers, broadcasters, and sponsors, creating opportunities for women boxers, preventing the exploitation of boxers, and the formalizing of a memorandum of understanding with the South African National Amateur Boxing Organization. On winning nation, following the delayed 2020 Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games, Team South Africa participated in the games when they eventually took place in July-August 2021. Due to several limitations, including the pandemic, team preparation was not as intense as it should have been for participation at this highest level. For the record, Team South Africa ended up with winning 3 medals at the Olympics and 7 at Paralympics. These results placed Team SA at position 52 at the Olympics and position 34 at the Paralympics. In subsequent discussion with SASCO President, Mr. Barry Hendricks, we all agreed that the results were not a true reflection of available local talent. And to that end, we committed ourselves to do all we can to evaluate the performances, identify blind spots, to be better prepared for future games. We also want to agree that the Olympics and Paralympics Games were followed by successes in other sports codes, including the South African Rugby's sweet victory against the British and Irish Lions, Blessbok winning streaks, Cricket South Africa's victory against India, and football exploits through Banyana Banyana and Mamelodi Sundowns, who became the first club in the continent to have won CAF Champions League for both males and females. Who can forget the South African Women Proteas cricket team, which went up to the semi-finals in the World Cup in New Zealand? On infrastructure, we report that we've provided no less than 2,513 schools, hubs, and clubs with the required sport facilities and gear. We have supported 29 municipalities through the ring-fenced municipal infrastructure grant at a total cost of 252 million. We have delivered 6 outdoor gyms and children's play parks in settlements across the country in terms of the National Development Plan. We have added over outdoor gyms and children's play parks to some municipalities. We have launched a multi-purpose sports court at Lutai High School at Hammersdale, KwaZulu-Natal, as a legacy in honor of Proteas netball team captain, Ms. Bongwe Msomi, leaving a Netball World Cup legacy in the form of netball playing facilities. Of course, work continues. We will leave no one behind, and we wish to make sure that at this point in time, sport becomes a better sport for all South Africans. Chair, I therefore humbly commend this House to pass this budget as tabled. I thank members for their attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. I will now invite the Honorable Zondi to proceed with the speech and also invite the Honorable Tina Jumat-Peterson to preside over the remainder of this mini plenary. The Honorable Zondi.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair, Honorable Minister and Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable members and fellow South Africans. We thank the opportunity to partake in this debate this afternoon. We debate the budget vote 37 of sports, arts and culture at a time when our sports sector have been reopened and all sports lovers are permitted to attend sports games despite a limited number. We yearn for a time in which the pandemic would have subsided for the full resumption of sports supporters attending games in stadiums without limitation. This has a negative impact on the sports economic and ecosystem, but it is a necessary restriction under conditions of the coronavirus pandemic. The current rapid increase of coronavirus infections reflects the correctness of the restrictions which currently exist. Sports is only positive for economic development, but sports have a potential to bring together diverse groups and create a socially cohesive society with a common national identity. We need to develop a sports social compact, focusing on developing grassroots sports in order to build this culture in our country. It is critical that we begin at grassroots level through ensuring that all our learners in schools participate in sports and support those with competitive skills for the professional development. Now, members, the community sports teams which are active in the majority of our communities demonstrate that our people yearn to be active. And with mobilization of the private sector and sports social partners, we should pull in funds at the grassroots level for them to benefit. In order to increase access, this budget targets supporting 70,000 learners to participate in the district school sports championships and 5,000 learners in the National School Sports Championship, and providing equipment and attire to 2,500 schools, hubs and clubs by March 2023. This is a very huge, this will make a very huge difference, Honorable Minister. We'll remember that our federations and the people of South Africa have been yearning to have this initiative of school sport be reactivated. We thank for this, that you are not only talking, you are silent, but you are doing what the people of South Africa are yearning to know. And this will assist the youth, and this intervention by the department will improve the quality of the sports sector and encourage the youth to be proud of themselves and be committed to playing sports. When last have you heard of an outstanding player in the national team who was identified through school tournament? I think this, in this current financial year, we will be able to identify few, if not many, of players that will be representing our country at different levels and in different codes. We should ensure that we have adequate sports scouts who are able to identify competitive and skilled young players to streamline them for professional development. We cannot reduce sports for only competition or market influence on its development, but we should promote sports for recreational purposes. In order to realize this objective of an active nation, we need to address the spatial inequalities by ensuring that municipal spatial planning and human settlement developments include sporting facilities and recreational parks which are accessible and close to residents. Program 2 of the budget vote responds to the need of creating an active nation through the mass participation and sport development grant, which is allocated 471 million for the current financial year. On the infrastructure gaps, the department budget vote will be constructing 10 community gyms, 10 playing marks, 10 multi-purpose courts by March 2023. This is a huge task ahead of us, but also we're glad that South Africans can see that the minister who is said to be silent is delivering to his mandate, and the department. The consistent maintenance of these facilities is paramount if we are to create an enabling environment where there are continuous use. We call on our communities to make the most of these facilities and ensure that communities protect these facilities through awareness and partnerships. Honorable Minister, in order to accelerate this program, it will be critical that we mobilize all sports stakeholders to join hands in social compact. One of the nation's pride is our national teams in athletics, soccer, rugby, cricket, and other sporting codes. Therefore, providing support for the elite sports persons who raise our flag globally is critical. The budget vote will support 800 elite athletes with scientific support services, and that is encouraging. We also await the hosting of the South African Sports Award, the Ministerial Outstanding Sports Performance Accolades, the Andrew Mlangeni Green Jacket Awards, and honoring women in sports awards, because these events appreciate and promote and acknowledge the excellence of our sports persons. We salute Precious Mthembu, who is one of the great players who has represented the SPAR Proteas netball team after 97 caps in the green and gold. She has worn the dress with 100% pride. As a nation, we cannot wait to welcome the world as the host of the Netball World Cup in 2023. South Africans are ready to display their culture and to support the Netball World Cup. We distinguish ourselves globally and have the capacity to hold international competition. We welcome the continuous support the department provides on anti-doping, which is critical for fairness in sports, and the department should create awareness in the sports sector. This support ensures that our athletes and sports.
Your time has expired.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The ANC supports the budget vote 37. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chapter.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, this budget vote comes at a time when the preservation of our heritage, arts, and indigenous culture couldn't have been more urgent. Indigenous knowledge systems and ways of living of the indigenous people must constantly be affirmed and promoted. Part of this budget, in our view, must be geared towards giving impetus to the indigenous people's pulse of creative spirit. Part of this empowerment will require the department to build libraries in rural areas. We must also use this budget to promote social cohesion, national reconciliation, Pan-Africanism, and the celebration of national symbols, such as the national flag, the national anthem, and the coat of arms. Part of promoting social cohesion, Honorable Chair, is to place indigenous languages on an equal footing with other languages. The department, through the National Heritage Resource Agency, must get its priorities right. In this regard, we really don't understand why it has taken long for the agency to declare Matatiele a nodal point given its historical significance in the liberation history of this country. We also wish to advise the ministry that its flagship programs must support emerging artists and performers in rural areas like Guamashu, Kaeli, Sheshehu, and many other poverty-stricken areas. We must not leave behind the living legends in this budget. Patrick Shire, for instance, didn't deserve to die in solitude when the department has a living legends trust fund. In closing, Honorable Chair, we wish to sing high praises to the formidable work that former Minister Paulo Jordan started under this ministry. He rewrote the script on the course of human history in the arts of culture and industry. The AIC will support this budget vote. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jefter. Cope? If none, PAC? None. Honorable Sheikh Imam? Honorable Sheikh Imam? He is on the platform. If not, I'll go to Honorable Van Dijk.
Honorable Chairperson, members of the House. Minister Mtetwa, I want to start by asking, how serious are you and the department really about transformation in sport in South Africa? When last did you meet with the Minister of Basic Education to discuss the MOU between the two departments on school sport, which was intended to implement an integrated school sport framework? This MOU was signed in 2011, reviewed in 2017, but 11 years later, South Africa still has a dysfunctional school sport system. In terms of transformation, we need to get the basics right. The 2018-19 EPG Sport Federation Transformation Status Report reflects that less than 10% of schools in the country are doing sports. Transformation on grassroots level will not happen without implementation of the MOU, proper budget allocation, or addressing the lack of sport infrastructure at school level. Armoede en ongelykheid as gevolg van 'n korrupte regering wat uitvoering is vir die mense op grondvlak, het sleutelkwessies geword wat billike toegang tot deelname aan sport raak. Daar's geen behoorlike ondersteuning vir atlete in histories benadeelde agtergronde en landelike gebiede nie. 'n Probleem wat ons gereeld in Noord-Kaap met sy lang afstande ook ervaar. SASCOT yearly receive only 110 million for all 80 federations. This should be considered before setting targets for transformation. This money is not enough, and the reason why many federations are dysfunctional. How does this even support elite athletes for the Olympics? This allocation further does not go to athletes, but rather to the administration. Smaller federations fending for themselves like basketball and softball have to rely on volunteers. How are national federations, especially the smaller ones, required to implement transformation in sport, given that they receive less than 2% of the department's budget? The budget for Program 2, Recreation Development and Sport Promotion, has been reduced, not to the benefit of athletes. Die 2020 Olympiese Spele is nie prioriseer nie. SASCOT moes op loterybefondsing staat maak om te verseker dat Suid-Afrika na die Spele kon gaan. Die Verenigde Koninkryk het reeds 246 miljoen pond belê vir die volgende Olympiese Spele wat oor 2 jaar in Parys plaasvind. Wat het die departement tot dusver belê en watter ondersteuning ontvang ons atlete, ook ons gestremde atlete? We can only hope that money has been ring-fenced this time, including bonuses for winning athletes, which was previously only paid because of media pressure. The DA wants to see our children be free to participate in sports in a healthy and safe environment, free of discrimination, abuse, or sexual violence. Safeguarding policies should be prioritized and implemented. Coaches need to be registered like educators. An independent sport integrity unit should be established to address safeguarding, sites, and match-fixing issues. Volgens die ouditeur-generaal se aanbieding oor audituitkomste van die portfolio oor tydperk 2019-20 tot 2021, het 5 geauditeerdes agteruitgegaan in hulle audituitkoms. Die Nasionale Kunstraad, Oorlogmuseums van die Boererepublieke en Suid-Afrikaanse Erfenis Hulpbronagentskap het voorheen ongekwalifiseerde audits met geen bevindinge, dit wil sê skoon audits ontvang, maar moes nou met gekwalifiseerd met bevindings tevrede wees. Die Suid-Afrikaanse Staatsteater en Nasionale Film- en Videostigting het van gekwalifiseerd met bevindinge na gekwalifiseerd teruggesak. The audit outcome does not necessarily provide an accurate indication of the prevailing climate within the organization. The staff of Ezekiel Museums have been battling with management to correct several issues that have contributed to low staff morale, including poverty in terms of salary and benefits. By die Bloemfontein Museum, Robben Eiland Museum, sowel as die Nasionale Biblioteek van Suid-Afrika, is daar ook ontevredenheid onder personeel. Die Nasionale Biblioteek se hofstryd speel al vir jare uit. Soortgelyke probleme is ondervind by ander entiteite, insluitend SARA en PAKHOFs. Alhoewel dit gesien kan word as kwessies wat verband hou met menslike hulpbronbestuur, wonder 'n mens tot watter mate dit dienslewering beïnvloed. Die legiterende aard van die sektor as gevolg van disfunksionele entiteite en rade is kommerwekkend. Openbare fondse word gebruik om forensiese verslae te bekom en verhofgevegte. Die vertragings rondom die voltooiing van erfenisprojekte soos die Sarah Baartman Sentrum van Herinneringe en die Winnie Mandela Huis is ook baie kommerwekkend. Bestuur moet streng projekmonitering en bestuursmaatreëls implementeer om onnodige escalasiekoste en verliese te vermy. Die ouditeur-generaal het reflekteer dat 'n kultuur van gevolge bestuur ontbreek. Die OG het 2 sleutelbevindings met betrekking tot die PSP gemaak, naamlik dat die Nasionale Kunstraad in sommige van die aansoeke nie die regulasies toegepas het en die begroting oorskry het wat tot onreëlmatige uitgawes gelei het. The NIC needs to explain how they reached a confidential settlement with suspended CEO Rosemary Mangopi, who resigned amidst the disciplinary process which involved maladministration of public funds in the height of COVID-19 difficulties. The state of the economy, along with the continued so-called triple challenge, poverty, inequality, and unemployment, hampers the arts from truly flourishing. The department should address the ongoing plight of cultural and creative workers, which was worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. The DA questions the matter of transformation of the arts and culture sector, one of the aims of the implementation of the white paper. Transformation not only referring to demographic transformation of staff or professionals, but also audience development and transformation. Improved arts education in public schools could partially address this. Oversight has, however, revealed that the department's Artists in Schools program, in partnership with the Department of Basic Education, is sometimes regarded as an extramural and not given the space, time, and energy that it is intended to get. The sports, arts, and culture sectors in South Africa deserves true commitment from government to create an enabling environment for real transformation, not just empty promises for populist appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is Honourable Malomani.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Greetings to you, Chair, our Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister, Honourable members and fellow South Africans. Building an inclusive sports and creative economy through equitable access and support. The sports and the creative sector are not just recreational and social, but they are a critical economic sector which sustains livelihoods and contributes to economic development. The sports and creative sector is also not immune to the socio-economic structural challenges, which have an impact on the type of opportunities a person gets. A sportsman from a rural area with underdeveloped facilities and a sports person who lives in an urban area with adequate sports facilities in their community and school will compete in an unequal footing. This is so because in order to be competitive at a national and international level, sports persons should have adequate facilities to train and receive support, which enables them to enhance their capabilities. The arts and the creative sector requires artists to be supported to access platforms which will enable promotion of the work produced in a manner that sustains their livelihoods due to the work produced by the artist. A writer without support to publish will struggle to sustain themselves as a writer. And a singer without studio access to produce their music will not realize the economic benefit of their abilities. A painter or a sculptor without access to the international trade markets will not optimize the economic benefit of their produces. Honorable members, the Portfolio Committee received an important study from the entity of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, the South African Cultural Observatory, which conducts research on how the cultural and creative industries contribute to the gross domestic product and the gross domestic product growth, employment transformation, and international trade, and provides a basis for evidence-based policy development. The South African Cultural Observatory conducted a mapping study in 2021. The study reflects that the cultural and creative industries contribute 2.97% to the gross domestic product of our country. Honorable members, this is a significant product contribution, and as the African National Congress, we have urged the department to steer the sector into a trajectory of economic growth.
My apologies, Honorable Malomani, for interrupting you. Honorable Sheikh Imam, you have your hand up. Is that a point of order?
No, Chairperson, I was on another debate. I was just reminding you that I'm back on the platform if I'm going to get another opportunity. Sorry for that.
Thank you, Honorable Sheikh Imam. My apologies. You may continue. Honorable Malomani.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The study further reflected the inequalities of a trajectory of economic growth. The study further said the economic activity amongst different provinces reflecting a dominance of Gauteng contributing 46.5%, followed by KwaZulu-Natal, followed by the Western Cape, whilst the other provinces are relatively low. The creative economy accounts for 6% of all jobs in South Africa, translating to 1 million jobs. Some of the inequalities we need to address in the creative sector is the skewed distribution of international trade of cultural and creative goods and services. Despite the Western Cape having a lower share of GDP contribution, it constitutes 53.1% of the exports, while Gauteng accounts for 32.4%. The department should use this important report to streamline support to address the inequalities in the sector. We welcome the expansion of the scope of the South African Cultural Observatory to also conduct research on the sports sector. We need to accelerate the transformation of the sports, cultural and creative economy to enable equal opportunities for all South Africa, particularly for the poor and historically disadvantaged. The coronavirus pandemic has exposed the fragility of the cultural and creative sector and its vulnerability to different shocks. As the saying goes, a crisis offers an opportunity. Digital transformation has permitted all economic sectors, and the department through this vote should prioritize economic sector. Through this vote should prioritize leveraging online platforms and other digital innovations which can empower artists to develop and create substances from their craft. Digital platforms have created ease of access to various audiences, which without artists wouldn't reach them. A lot of podcasts have been developed during the pandemic period, creating income for artists, and many artists have become major influencers due to social media platforms and other digital platforms. The arts and creative sector are a critical component of the digital economy, as the creative are the key continent of the creators. The National Film and Video Foundation is an important entity in realizing these imperatives, and we commend the plan to award grants to 40 individuals and 180 companies for the production of 70 local content films and the development of 110 local content scripts. Honorable Chair, a reading nation is a winning nation. The culture of reading is a critical feature for socio-economic transformation. Reading is not only for schooling or academic purposes, but a reading nation beyond education enhances our consciousness as a nation. Reading is a key to knowledge, and it is through understanding that our people will be able to imagine and reimagine things. This budget vote financially supports 29 libraries for the current financial year. As I know, one of those libraries, it will be in our own province, which is in Mpumalanga, in Kwamhlanga. This is a significant sub-program the department supports annually. This budget supports the National Library of South Africa and the South African Library for the Blind. Honorable Minister, we welcome the efforts of the department in driving digitization. We acknowledge the plans to digitize 168,000 heritage items and the preservation of 50,708 documentary heritage items. This is a critical program. The department should ensure easy access to the digital outputs of heritage and documentary items and promote the items through supporting creatives who will promote them and draw inspiration from them to ensure their optimum use of and promotion. Honorable Minister, we also welcome the support for the blind through producing 720 braille book titles and 90 tactile books for visually impaired people. This intervention espouses our commitment of an inclusive society. The ANC unequivocally support this budget vote as it is based on the key priorities of the medium-term strategic framework, and as an African National Congress, through the Portfolio Committee, we will ensure the plans are realized to advance socio-economic transformation. What I would also like to say to Honorable Luthuli is that on the APPs of the department, each and every project is listed there. If you can see, even in the 29 libraries that I'm speaking about, they are listed in the APPs of the department. If you can go just through the APPs, you can see each and every program or project that the department intends to do. Honorable Mhlongo, why do you come and stand here and speak about the issues of the AG? What did the AG speaks about? You know that the challenges, the other challenges are not within the department, are between the issues of the Department of Public Works. Other issues it is concerned were in the Portfolio Committee. It was addressed. We are informed on this kind of challenges. And what I want to speak about is that Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, continue to make sure that the people of South Africa are assisted, as you've assisted through the COVID-19, through the presidential PESP, where where creatives have received support from you. We know how many creatives have received support, how many jobs you've created. Continue to do your work. Well done job. We support this budget vote 37 as the African National Congress. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Chairperson. And allow me to apologize. I was on another debate on another budget vote. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to start off by congratulating actor Zolisa Kaluva on his Lifetime Achievement Award. It is indeed well deserved. Secondly, also allow me to congratulate Nkosinati Mapumulo, also known as Black Coffee, on his Grammy Award. Now, Honorable Chairperson, the National Freedom Party will support Budget Vote 37, Sports, Arts and Culture. It is indeed clear that this is one of the better performing departments than its counterparts. But some of the challenges still remain, Honorable Chairperson, and one of them being development at a local level, particularly at school level. And I will know that this matter was being addressed with basic education and other departments. Not enough is being done to ensure that there's development from grassroots level, particularly at disadvantaged schools. And that is why you would find that those sportsmen and women that are emerging are all coming from privileged schools. I'll give you a good example of Caitlin Ruerskrantz, which I mentioned before, Chairperson, artistic gymnastic champion who brought gold medal and made South Africa proud. But what we find is there's very limited resources to things like artistic gymnastics. Also, women football. Women football sometimes play better than our Bafana team in South Africa. But yet you'd find, like some of the artists and things, there's very limited funding and resources that's being diverted. Now, I have previously called through the former, I think the Deputy Minister who promised to look into this matter, particularly of our 1 billion rand legacy fund from the 2010 World Cup. Where is that money that is supposed to have been used for development in sports in South Africa? It's nowhere to be found. We know that they bought some hotels or some treat somewhere, but we don't really know what is really happening there. But what is important is this, that not only with the 1 billion rand legacy fund, there was billions of rands worth of equipment and generators and things that we had purchased. There is no accountability for this whatsoever. If you look at the state of SASCOC and SAFA, it leaves a lot to be desired, and I call upon the minister to interrogate this thing and investigate and bring these departments and these sectors into order. And so, you know, a lot of work still needs to be done if we want to ensure that South Africans excel in sports, particularly in the international arena. If you look at what has happened in the Eastern Cape with monies that were spent in those stadiums, I mean, it was really an abuse of the resources. 15 million rand on a stadium that is worth 3, 4 or 5 million rand, and very little or nothing appears to be done about it. In having said that, the National Freedom Party supports the table budget vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. Honourable Minister, you have an additional 2 minutes, which you saved when you did your introduction.
It's not 2, it's 12, Chair.
12, thank you.
Yes, not 12. Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks, Chair, and thanks to honourable members for the debate and their participation therein. Firstly, Honourable Madlingozi, I think we will be patient to give information to those who do not have. We really support the literary work. We do a lot on that. Firstly, we have the South African Literary Awards, where we recognize writers, authors in our country and encourage them to do more. We also fund, in fact, the past 3 years, we've funded 6 book fairs in this country, including Women Writers Program. And we'll continue to do that, Chair. As we speak, there's an international book fair, which is going to be taking place soon in Sweden. We are sending no less than 20 writers and authors from grassroots level in this country who are going to be part of this. And these are the endeavors, Chair, which we have in our program in ensuring that we support this part of our work. Now, the chairperson raises an important issue here, Chair, the issue about the languages. And I must say, Chair, that insofar as that is concerned, thanks for that, and thanks for understanding the importance of this work. If I may, Chairperson of the House, say that we have, over a period of time, as we said, financially supported this area of our work and ensured that in all the major national universities, we have people who are practitioners of language who get supported by the department because we believe it's important. The colonial project, part of what it sought to achieve was to ensure that the languages, especially African indigenous languages, do not or are not given currency and have no currency as they were excluded from corporate environment as well as in academia. It is encouraging, Chair, that we are beginning to see students completing masters and PhDs dissertations across a variety of academic fields using African languages. And for us, this is a remarkable fulfillment of the transformative constitutionalism obligation imposed on government by Section 6 of the founding provisions of the Constitution. To the member who spoke, Member Mshongo, Honorable Member Mshongo, it's easy to sloganeer on very serious matters facing society. That the department did nothing during this pandemic period. Maybe it's because Honorable Mshongo was still battling with the network there. Let me reiterate. We were the first one to say that we're not going to be able to cover all the artists and athletes, but with what we have invested in these past 2 years, 808 million rands going into the pockets of artists and athletes and their organizations. And you come here and you say nothing has been done. I would take it that perhaps it's lack of information. I must also say that this money went to 59,224 artists and athletes, creating and retaining 37,556 jobs in this country. The honorable member is raising the matter related to Enoch Mgijima ground in the Eastern Cape. And again, I'll take it that not all of us are informed about how things happen. Firstly, Schedule 5 of the Constitution puts an obligation on local government to be the ones which create facilities. And that's the ground we are talking about, had nothing to do with the national government. It was a municipality matter, as it were. And on issues related to what you said about SAFA, NEC, that's their decision as NEC of SAFA administratively. And the minister, just a legal education, is barred from getting involved through Section 13 of the Act, which is passed by members of Parliament. To honorable member who spoke, Dana, want to trivialize the flag. No, the department, it's the mandate of the department to create, amongst other things, monuments. And this flag is a monument for democracy in this country. And we make no bones about that. And it's disingenuous to say it's not important. If it's not important, your sister organization, AfriForum, wouldn't be in court today fighting for the old flag. So I think we must clarify this thing that we have an obligation to transform the heritage landscape, and we'll do just that. And we are aware of the challenges which people are facing, and our work goes to artists, to athletes, and other areas, including the area of heritage promotion and preservation. I think that the point which was made by Honorable Zondi on school sport, we take that point. We actually, through the MOU with the basic education, one member asked whether we meet. Yes, we meet with the minister, and there is work which is happening in school sport. The deputy minister has clarified that. We meet, but that MOU we are talking about is going to expire in 2022, and we'll have to look what is it that we need to do more to ensure that it's effective. And one of the areas, the deputy minister again touched on it, the launching this year of the Sport Ambassadors Program, which is aimed at complementing school sport so that we ensure that we produce at that level. Honorable Member Jafta, thank you for your intervention, particularly highlighting the issue of libraries in rural areas. We are doing just that, Honorable Member. Within this MTF, we have financially supported 103 libraries across the country. As Honorable Malomane has said, about 40 of them have been completed already. So we take that work very seriously. And thanks on the issue of languages also, we do care for our living legends. And that is why the issue of living legends, we left it totally in their hands. They are running their affairs. They elect their leaders, and currently the chairperson of the living legends has been elected like others by themselves. We only support them, but we don't micromanage them. I think we have dealt with the issues Honorable Van Dijk has raised, but I think she's missing the point. Parkhoffs has turned the corner. Parkhoffs is functional now, and it's working in the Free State. If perhaps were part of the meeting when they came there, would have seen that after some time they even got a clean audit, unqualified audit, as it were. So I think that we should ensure that we understand that. But I think that generally, Chair, as we said, we are moving now from a mode of grants to a sustainable recovery plan. And what that means is that the kind of programs we are going to focus on are programs which are going to be everlasting, are programs which are going to ensure that they create jobs for the sector. We started, for instance, with the hip-hop heritage, which we funded in Johannesburg, the District 6 Museum. And those are part of the programs, the Pansy Museum in KwaZulu-Natal. Those are the programs which are actually helping going forward to sustain themselves. But we work from the grassroots level. Honorable Van Dijk talks about grassroots. We are there, grassroots, we are there. And grassroots here, we go to community art centers in the townships of our country, in the rural areas. That's where we work. As I said, that the past 2 years, we've funded 331 community art centers in the communities. And we are not only looking at people who are at the higher level. We are a government which cares. And I must emphasize that point, that when it comes to issues of the soft issues affecting artists and athletes, as I said, that the department has combined the fight against GBVF with a wellness intervention program in a three-pronged strategy. At one level, an outfit called Bakawafazi is running a GBVF Survivors Guild, and this is a program that promotes victim-centered approach. It also provides a safe and secure platform for all victims. Hulikane deals with a boiled child and the socialization thereof. But the Silapa program is an intervention about well-being of artists and athletes, be it on mental health, legal matters, financial management, amongst others. We launched it in February 2021. To date, 953 artists and athletes have been assisted by this particular program. So, Chairperson, I think that we must say, as we conclude, that ours is to ensure that the sector is recognized for what it is. That is why we use science through research to implement the programs, and future milestones include working together, working towards the urgent need for strengthened cultural diplomacy framework, because we have seen that through research, the exporting of our cultural goods and services in this country is one currency which is growing, and we want to support that working with other departments like Department of Tourism, Department of International Relations, and so on. We also are on course, Chair, to ensure that as the white paper enjoined us to reduce and amalgamate the entities from 30, because we have 30 plus entities today, to 5 boards and councils in our country for nation building and social cohesion. And there's a dire need to have a worldwide African-based digital platform that houses an online creative arts and sporting platforms for control and sustainability of intellectual property and patents of South Africa and AU member states' intangible heritage. Tangible heritage is important, as is the intangible heritage. So there is no one part of our program and mandate we are going to forsake. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson, who chaired at the beginning of the debate. Honorable members, that concludes the debate and the business of this virtual mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise. The House is adjourned. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Mudula Stulo.
Thank you.
Songo, Yima, Yima, Songo.